Well, good evening again. We're all here to celebrate the 60th anniversary because we love skiing and the camaraderie of being with a group. Mike Jones started out that way, but during the past 4 years he has been president, he has put his heart and soul into this club. Mike has that rare sense of duty and responsibility that is required for serving in such an important volunteer position. In addition to spending countless hours researching the history of the club, he has pitched in to do almost anything that needed doing. He has helped maintain our website, promoted our club at ski swaps, trade shows, and commuted to hundreds of committee meetings. He hardly ever hears praise for all those efforts, but he never lets that stop him from completing a task. He also took it upon himself to sort through hundreds of photos to create the slideshow that we will see later. Let's welcome our president, Mike Jones, as he tells us of the history of Baltimore Ski Club.
Thank you. I'm glad everybody was able to make it tonight in spite of the unexpected weather. We're going to start out with the history of the club. I'll try not to bore you. I found it pretty interesting myself, and it'll be about 10 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and start now. All right, the Baltimore Ski Club, 1947 to 2007. We are here tonight to help celebrate the Baltimore Ski Club's 60th anniversary of incorporation. Our club actually had its roots in the Mountain Club of Maryland, which was formed in 1934 for the purpose of perpetuating the outdoor life. By 1936, a growing number of its members were mainly interested in skiing. They independently formed a ski division of the Mountain Club of Maryland and thus created the first organized ski club south of the Mason-Dixon line. This great interest in just the sport of skiing conflicted with the philosophy of the Mountain Club because it did not wish to emphasize such a narrow range of outdoor activities. In 1938, the skiers completely severed their ties to the Mountain Club and created the Baltimore Ski Club with Dr. William Kemper as its president. Eager to establish itself, the newborn BSC had the snowflake emblem designed by Paul Berg. They carried it into battle as the BSC took on the larger Washington Ski Club in a series of downhill races at New Germany, Maryland. This pre-ski lift area saw BSC members Paul Jordan and Amos Bud Little take the honors on 2 consecutive years in the New Germany race, sending the Baltimore Ski Club well on its way to finding its own identity. A third outdoorsman in the early growth of the BSC is J. Henry Sigel, who helped facilitate the break from the Mountain Club. He reminisced about those early ski trips to New Germany on which $2 a day provided a feather bed in an unheated farmhouse and eventually use of a rope tow, and said, I quote, "I didn't think there was anything quite like getting outdoors and enjoying things, and the club attracted a very nice group of people." The signers of the article of incorporation for the state of Maryland were J. Henry Sigel, Dorothy Lundwell, and John Cunningham. The New Germany meets continue right up to the time of the United States entry into World War II, when most young men were called into service and gas rationing precluded trips of any kind. At this point, however, the Baltimore Ski Club had grown to approximately 100 people and has been instrumental in acquiring a ski lift at the New Germany facility. After the war, the BSC resumed regular weekend ski trips to New Germany and began frequent trips to Laurel Mountains in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. John Cunningham, our first president after incorporation, presided over monthly meetings at an upstairs room in the main branch of the Enoch Pratt Library. His tenure in office saw the advent of a few bus trips to Pennsylvania ski areas, a visit from noted ski photographer John Jay in 1947, the beginning of a summer program at Oregon Ridge, and an annual festivity at the Duchin House. Throughout the early 50s, the club continued to meet in the Baltimore City at the Enoch Pratt Library and later at the Alcazar to discuss where to ski, view ski movies, and to conduct business affairs. Almost all the ski trips were arranged by carpools. and there were at least one trip each weekend, usually to Laurel Mountains or to Split Rock, and an occasional bus trip to Stowe, Vermont. If a member was interested, he called the trip leader, whose responsibility was to fill 30 rooms at Fort Legionnaire Hotel. A member could ski Laurel Mountain for a weekend for just $22. Those were the days. Many of the early club's 130 members were desperate displaced skiers from New England. Even though the choice of trips were nothing like it is today, these people didn't flinch at paying the $3 membership fee for the availability of the regular organized ski trip. Up until 1955, only word of mouth perpetuated membership. However, in February 1955, the club went on its first ski trip out of the country, led by Chuck Randall and accompanied by stunt photographer A.R. Bodine. 45 members braved the minus 35-degree cold at Quebec's Grey Rocks in the Laurentian Mountains. I think Chubba was one of them. He's still suffering from frostbite. This trip was featured on the cover of the February 27, 1955 ground section of the Sunday Sun. Of greater significance is the fact that the Canadian Ski Week became an annual event, and the Baltimore skier gained an increased respect in the eyes of the Northeastern sportsmen. With the opening of Marsh Mountain in Oakland, Maryland, today called WISP, the Baltimore Ski Club had another place to visit and a convenient way of getting there. For $25, members were offered package deals providing train tickets. We had our own train card that left B&O right down, bus ride, lodging, and skiing. By the early 60s, with the mounting interest in skiing in America, the club experienced dramatic growth to over 300 members. The large-scale planning and organizing by Mike Holocena, President 62-63, and later owner of Ed Set Shops, and the keen business sense of Bob Roberts, owner of Triangle Sporting Goods, spurring BSC onward, our membership soon passed the 500 mark by the late 60s. Operating the club then became more complex. It then began meeting at the St. Mary's Knights of Columbus Hall in Homeland and had chartered bus trips and more social activities such as summer roll roast, Snow Queen dance, Ocean City trips, bi-monthly cocktail parties, dance parties at the Meadowbrook Swim Club, and an annual banquet. While our membership grew, so did our turnover, about 50% yearly. Much of this turnover was because many felt that we were a ski club, while others felt that we were a social club. The BSC has always tried to keep the emphasis on skiing, with many people joining the club just to take advantage of the attractive ski trips or to learn how to ski. During that time, the 3 or 4 busload ski trips could no longer be counted on. This did not necessarily represent a decline of interest in the BSC, probably the affluence of the period. Most people had more time and money and were able to get away on their own when they felt like it. However, interest in the club did not wane. President Sol Offit arranged for Norway's gold medalist Stein Eriksen to address the meeting at the Pikesville Fire Hall, which produced the largest attendance to date. By the late 60s, BSC promoted the sport by organizing a Wednesday Learn to Ski night, where for a small price, novice skiers were treated to a round-trip bus ride from Towson to Round Top, a ski lesson, a lift ticket, and discount on rentals. In the early 70s, membership was increasing, but trip participation declining. To help counter that, we increased dues to help subsidize ski trips, but guarantee a bus even when we didn't fill it. Because the price of the trip would go down further when more people participated, more participation was for everyone's benefit. Due to those successful trips, our membership of skiers and non-skiers then tipped in favor of the skiers. While the BSC ran many successful ski trips in the East over the years, some of our members took advantage of the Blue Ridge Ski Council sanctioned trips to Europe. Because our members wanted more than just the Eastern skiing, in 1973 our first Western trip was offered as a week-long trip to Lake Tahoe. More Western trips follow. Deregulation of airlines in the late 70s made the cost of flying to ski destinations more affordable. By the early 80s, the Baltimore Ski Club ran 4 Western trips a year, and with the success of our Easter programs and the development of our Western trips, membership ballooned to over 1,500 members. Of course, we were all baby boomers, and we were in our prime, so that certainly helped. Members were now enjoying a choice of 25 trips during the season. During that time, we needed to change our general meeting to Parkville Legion Hall to help accommodate our increased attendance. With our members looking for new destinations, the BSC focused their trip schedule now on more Western trips. By 1991, the Baltimore Ski Club ran 14 Western trips and only 6 Eastern trips. Our general meeting moved to the Parkville VFW during the late 90s as membership declined to around 500 members. While turnover still occurs even today, the majority of our current members have remained loyal and active with our club. Although we can't fill 25 trips a year like we did in the 80s, the trips that we now offer are to popular destinations or those that our members request. In spite of the age of the internet and mass communication, word of mouth is still our best form of advertisement. From the days of our first casual carpool trips to today's charter flights to the Rockies and Europe, the history of the Baltimore Ski Club can be best summed up in the words of past president Tony Ferrara, quote, "The Baltimore Ski Club has progressed from a point where the only growth participation was a weekend carpool trip to a local mountainous resort to the point where members now have the availability of worldwide skiing." Thank you. As most of you are aware, C. Edward Crawford suffered a stroke while over a year a few weeks ago. He fell into a coma, and a week later he passed away. Before he left for Europe, he told me how excited that we were having our 60th anniversary and eager to see old members again. He helped me gather the information to contact some of our former presidents. Tonight, not only are we honoring our past president who helped guide the club, but we are also honoring C. Edward. Joe Herbert has known C. Edward for over 35 years and has a few more words to say.
Thanks, Mike, and a great job on the history. Great. And I have to exhibit what Beth said. Mike is a workhorse, there's no doubt about it. I think his wife probably doesn't even think she has a husband. I think he goes to work every day, and when he's not working, he's working on ski club business, and he's really got his heart and soul into it. And it's been challenging the last few years, and our membership has dwindled, but it's not only in this club, it's been throughout the clubs in the country, but we're doing very well, and we'll continue to stay as a club thanks to hard work like Mike and the other people who are on the committee to put this on. Mike asked me to say a few words about C. Edward, and there's probably some of you here in the room that maybe knew him a little better than I. I think Mike, because I was probably, like C. Edward, a long continuous member. I think I've been a member since 1972 consecutively, and probably been to most ski club meetings except for just a few. And I'll never forget, when I met C. Edward, it was sort of outstanding because he was outstanding. He was a very tall human being, as we all know. And I didn't really get to know him that well the first few years in the club. He just was a tall guy, and it was this kind of like big, you know, I always called it like sort of like a Bavarian type fellow, and very firm, and very possible and very knowledgeable. I talked to him, you know, on some bus trips, and Very, very intelligent man, and he enjoyed skiing, and he had a lot of wealth of knowledge. So later on, we used to go on these ski trips like most of those. When we first joined the club, we could only afford to go up to Seven Springs or Oak Mountain, or maybe later we got into New England, then eventually we had money to go out west. But I remember being at a Blue Ridge ski, what was it, Eastern Ski Carnival. And we were all in a room. There's probably a couple hundred people there from different clubs throughout Baltimore, Washington, Pennsylvania, and Delaware and all. And people would say, well, who's that big guy? And I looked around and I said, which one? They didn't realize who they were talking to, you know, the little guy. They're not a big guy. And I said, oh, well, you mean C. Edward, you know. And so that was C. Edward. And he always did stand out, and people would always say, who's that big guy, you know. And he was a very interesting person. So when I got more involved in the club, I started going to exec council meetings. And then, of course, everybody in the room has been to an exec council meeting. Probably will know what I'm talking about when C. Edward's presence was there. He would always be there, and we'd have our discussions, might have a few disagreements or something like that. And C. Edward would usually keep his mouth closed. But when he opened his mouth, my God, everybody in the room just stopped to listen. Because what he had to say was really genuinely good. And he commanded that demeanor that he just had that power of knowledge, and he always had the club at heart. And not only that, he also he loved Robert's rules of Roberts. I don't know. I hated rules of order. That was his thing. And he used to, you know, call on that book a lot. So anyway, and half of us in the room didn't know the difference anyway. Could have been BSing us all anyway. We believed him and went along with it. So. But anyway, and then I became on the trip committee, and then I started working with different people planning trips, and I really saw his expertise when he used to get the contracts from different wholesalers. You know, some of our wholesalers out there, for the most part, are pretty good people, but there were a few you had to watch. And C. Edward was really a shark to this, and he caught a lot of things in contracts. You know, he was good enough, and the other trip leader members were good enough to give the trip leader the contract. You look at it, see what you think about it, and then you would converse as a committee, and then you would converse one-on-one with C. Edward. And I learned a lot from him about reading contracts that paid off in many different ways. And he was very good at that, and he also, I thought, these wholesalers must think he's a pain in the ass, but I talked to them, they had a lot of respect for him. Yeah, he was a pain, but they knew when they were dealing with C. Edward, they were dealing with someone they couldn't pull any wool or you know, we were fortunate to have him in the club. He saved us a lot of money. He looked out for the club, and truly, I think we were his extended family. He no doubtedly put a lot of effort into the club. And then later on, I remember one time we were out skiing, and I ran into him, and it was Hans Stein and Phil Maselli, Obie O'Brien, I can't remember who the other gentleman was, and sitting back thinking about, she ever wasn't as old as those guys, but they were a little older, but I was looking over the club and saying, well, what a great thing. And I remember when I was a young man, I was in 20s, and joined the club looking at the diverse age of the ski club. It was the first time that I saw ages where there's no age. Everybody's the same thing. You're a skier. You like it, you know. And then I remember seeing those four guys together. It made me think about that. Tonight I was thinking about who would be here and who would be talking. We had a lot of fun, and those guys we miss a lot too. But anyway, last year I was over in Schladming, Austria, and skied with C. Edward and quite a few others. And you know, I guess many of you may not have known that, but C. Edward did eventually. He walked the Appalachian Trail from the beginning to the end. Not in one session, but he did it in over sessions, and he was very proud of that. Mike Googled a little bit on the internet and found out that C. Edward also had some, he was great. He was a native of Georgia, Atlanta area, and he was a graduate of Georgia Tech, and he had we think a building, we're going to look more into this, named after him, which is foundation after him. So, but he was he was very much into the arts. He loved classical music. He loved plays, and he was just an all-around good person. We were going to miss him. And I think that that he's probably, his time with this club has rubbed off on a lot of us. Some of us, we don't see as much anymore, but for anybody that served on the exec council or trip committee or spent any time around C. Edward, you got something from the man. So God bless you, C. Edward, and if we could all stand a moment and just kind of put our heads down, because C. Edward's going to ski by, because he's going to be skiing and twirling now. Thank you. Thanks. And I think C. Edward would appreciate it. Mike, thanks. Those are the exec council, and I'm not going to let the answer out. But somebody, I think Chris Rose one time said, "What does C. Edward mean?" And he said, "C. Edward Crawford."
At this time, I'd like our past presidents to stand and be recognized when their name is called. I'm not certain if they all made it. I know one hasn't, but I believe the rest of them may have. Arthur Emery, President, past President, 66-67. Thank you for coming. Tony Carrera. Past President, 67-68. I hope you didn't mind me quoting you earlier. Dick Weatherby. Past President, 21-72. Thanks for coming. Brian Centofanti. Past President, 17-23. I believe Doug Hoffman, he lived down in Virginia and he couldn't make it because of the snow. Dick Janelle, is he here? Past President, 1975 to 1976. Mary Jo Torella. Past President, 36 and 77. Wes Miller. Past President, 85 and 86. Wayne Homans. Past President, 87, 88, 91, 92. Barbara Sams. Nice seeing you again, Barb. Past President, 78 through 81 and 93, 97. Sheldon Hyman. Past President, 97, 98. And finally, Joe Herbert. Past President, 98 to 2002. Okay, since this is our 60th anniversary, I was kind of surprised. The county, some of the county officials have recognized our club for what it has done for the last 60 years, and I'm going to have Luann Snyder, our director, come up here and read the proclamation. Citation. Would you like to come up and read it? This part I can't speak.
Hi, I'm Luann Snyder. I've been a member since 1987, and it's my pleasure to make the presentation of the special citations we received from two special elected officials who have recognized our milestone anniversary. First, we have the congressional certificate from Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger, which is a special recognition presented to us with appreciation of your service and achievement in recognition of the celebration of our 60th anniversary. I'd like to also thank Lynn Yates, who's sitting over there where I just came from. She works for Dutch, and she helped me make the connections to get the certificate. And then also, County Executive James Smith, or Joe Smith, also presented us with an executive wholehearted congratulations on the occasion of your 60th anniversary. For 6 decades, this organization has brought individuals and families together from diverse backgrounds through their love of skiing. Through cultivating interest in this winter sport, the Baltimore Ski Club has played an important role in strengthening friendships and physical fitness throughout the region. On behalf of its citizens, Baltimore County is pleased to acknowledge this important anniversary and wish this organization and all its members the best in all the years to come. And of course, it was given under the seal of James T. Smith, County Executive.
Okay, before we have the drawing for the door prizes, I'd like the former president, we'd like to have you as a group so we can take some pictures of you. If you don't mind, we will do that now. And yeah, we'll do it over there at the cake table.